Hi there, leaders. Adrian Groenewald here of Me Vision Academy, and it's wonderful to be with you to hand one of those incredible Successful Leader Awards to another great leader. Of course, Me Vision Academy is about shaping successful leaders. We give leaders transformative experiences and their teams. But what we also do is mobilize successful leaders by countries, sectors, and on different levels. Across the world, we're mobilizing successful leaders. And this is part of a unique journey where some time back we gave Beki Nkumalu his Successful Leader Award, and he has nominated his great team as successful leaders, and that is so appropriate. And today we have one of them here whom we are going to give the award and also ask him what he believes successful leadership is. What has he learned through this unique experience, especially now at Eskom with this miraculous turnaround? We've got today Dan Mashigo, the General Manager of Primary Energy, and as I say, nominated by Beki himself. Dan, welcome.
Thank you, Adrian.
So wonderful to be with you, Dan. And what I'm going to do now is just get the formalities out of the way, although we won't rush through it. Quickly get your award on the screen here. That's it. In an exclusive recognition of successful leadership awarded to Dan Mashigo for at least the following points: consistently leading himself and others who report to him or don't, but he leads others successfully, currently as General Manager Primary Energy at Eskom. But for 30 years, he's served in that organization, leading with profound institutional wisdom, nurturing his team, and embodying Eskom's values in his leadership. That's part of the nomination for him. Of course, his valuable contribution to Eskom generation's exemplary success, and for us, very important, inspiring and developing future successful leaders. My honor to sign on behalf of Me Vision Academy, A Journey to Best Self. So Dan, a formal congratulations to you for this unique award.
Thanks, Adrian. It's a privilege. I think when I first got note, of the award, I think it brought a big smile. This type of awards, they are far and few, in between. And I think I'm really honored. I'm really honored to be bestowed, such a prestigious award. And I think it will serve well, to instill more Vuma in me, to get going, So really appreciate it, to your institution. And I think it's a commitment, to maintain that ethical, and committal leadership, going forward. Because I guess, your institution would only like to associate with certain type of leaders and so on, which says, one has to stay within that realm. But really honored to receive the award, yeah.
Dan, it's our privilege and honor. And yes, obviously we know even successful leaders are human. They can go on and make mistakes, but they'll always come back to that golden thread of their true self and leading with values. And so thank you for accepting. The big question to you, and I'm sitting here thinking, imagine a year or two or three ago, the crisis and the distrust and everything that was just hanging all over, and that South Africa dealt with. And here today, you're receiving an award and your colleagues. So it's incredible movement, incredible success, incredible example of successful leadership. And hence we ask you, what have you learned about what successful leadership means?
Yeah. And I'm going to personalize it, to what it means to me. And I think some of the things I mentioned are probably what people can say it's common sense, common knowledge. But for me, it starts, with acknowledging that, success in the first place and leadership, if you separate them, it's not a point of reference. It's a journey. It's a continuum. So for me, success throughout my life, especially for the time that I've been in leadership role, has been a journey, and a journey that has been marked by several, milestones, some achieved, some missed, having to reset, you fall, you pick yourself up, take off the dust, and carry on, because the ultimate goal is continuously a moving target, it is there. It is not reachable. It's like going for the stars. Like you just carry on, and as you achieve your milestones in the journey, that's what gives you confidence. Like because that's what denotes, I think, in tangible terms. Like success. And the other part for me is that the other key part is understanding. Like what the task is, what the role is, understanding what the expectations are, understanding and accepting, like that I may have gaps and inadequacies that I need to, like to thrive on. But the other part, which is quite key as well, is that I've loved, like a working in the production type environment, working with people, like a, and I always see myself, like a, as a person that is put in place, like to inspire others and to get the best out of them. And leadership is basically crafting, like that way forward, but making it tangible, like a making it achievable, and making sure that, like the team is, like always behind. So meaning I have to start with engaging the team.
Mm.
So that was one of, amongst the key lessons is that, and knowing the team, and the team understanding what is the task at hand, like, and being, like the guide and supporting the team, and allowing them to shine, and shine better, like, or shine more than I would ever shine, and so on. I'm a huge subscriber to, like to some of the mantra that, say, Richard Branson believes in, that always hire and surround yourself with people that are much more smarter than you. Like they make you a better leader. I try, like, and where I see gaps, I help them be better than me. It's so fulfilling when some of the people that have been part of your disciples, if I have to use that terminology, you see them grow and grow beyond you in terms of, what we call, like the organizational structure and so on. There's nothing that is self-nourishing. Yeah. But leading teams is quite complex, especially in our environment, where one moment you are operating at a very, very functional level at the base of operation. You are engaging, like from a general worker to a tradesman, artisan level, like a functional spanner level. And the next thing, you have to interact, like with investors, with boards, with external suppliers, like with, in our case, like ministries, like departments, and like, and colleagues, international, like players, media. So we traverse a very wide spectrum that I think most people that are in an industrial setup probably go through that, and so on. Very fulfilling and reaching, because you always maintain that contact with the organic part of the organization. As much as some of us may sit, like at head office, but our contact and dealings with people on the shop floor is quite frequent. And I think a lot of delayering has happened psychologically. And I mean, you may have spoken to Becky that the access to leaders nowadays is much easier than it used to be. Previously, people in my position, like it could be difficult, easier, basically to impart, like what you'd like, like the team to do and so forth, and to connect. I think connections are quite key. Once, like the team believes in you, they believe in themselves, because you have to instill that, like they understand, and you give them space, they will surprise you. And it's finding that niche, like all the time. I think that.
So Dan, what I picked up you saying that there was a time when someone did not have easy access to a leader in your position. Are you saying that access to the leader, to the leader at the top, has become much more available and much more common, and that must have made a big difference?
No, absolutely. I can recall the times when I joined the organization. People in the levels, and also at head office, they were not easily accessible. So when they would come to operations, like it becomes a big fanfare. It still is currently, because people appreciate that part. But it's now easier to connect. I think, like people have loosened up, like a bit, like it is not attaching prestige, like a more. I think there's recognition that, like a servant leadership is probably important, which is one of our, like leadership values, like in Eskom. But it really does, because you get to hear it directly, like from the leader, like without somebody losing the meaning in translation and so on. And it gives opportunity for leaders to also, like mobilize people, convince them, like and also, like share that, I mean, we're all human. And also, you get to know who are your stars, like you get to know your people, you get to know what makes them tick. You get to know who are your street smart people, where are the power bases in your organization. You've got official power bases where people are bestowed the power by virtue of appointment, but there are people that are sitting in areas, but they are very influential. Like when coming to change management, if those people you leave behind, they will scupper, like your process. So I think leadership is more an art, although there's a lot of science behind leadership and so on. But to put this together as a symphony, I think you have to be an artist. Like so I see leadership as an art, like and it doesn't, it's not static. Certain principles, like we can craft them, we can write them in books and so on, but they also, like migrate. I mean, in the digital age, in the age where things are immediate, where the world has become smaller, I mean, I can know in the next second what has happened in the Middle East, without having to rely on the, like a traditional, like a media outlets and so on, and have visuals, like thereof, and connect if I've got people there. So it changes, like how you basically impart, like those leadership, like dynamics that we have and so on.
Yeah, Dan, thank you so much for sharing those gems with us. We look forward to sharing it with people out there, and how different it is to lead now. A bit of breathing space. Obviously, you can never relax too much. But what's it like leading the team now that there's a taste of success? How different is it?
Yeah. I always say to people, to get from being a zero to hero is sometimes easier. Like it was difficult for us, but to maintain and improve and maintain high performance level, like that's where you separate, like the real performers and to the chancers and so on. But certainly, the headroom that has been created now has given us space to focus on what the business is, has given us space to pay more attention inwards in the organization. I think there's been a lot of focus on the external part, and rightfully so, because I mean, if your customer is unhappy, like you have to understand the customer. Otherwise, you won't have that customer tomorrow. You won't have the customer, you won't have business. But that customer is you are the conjugation between the customer and the employee, because the employee has to meet, like the customer and so on. I think we've been externally focused, like managing crisis, communicating crisis, laying our soul bare, like having everybody in the engine room, which any business person would not like. You still want to be accountable, like be ethical, like and be diligent. However, you would like to have space, like to do what you're supposed to. So now it gives us space, like to focus on what the business is all about, like and as much as like we would like to say we are in business and so on, but a commodity like electricity is a public service community. It's a public service commodity, like because of what it touches. It touches every element, corner, and aspect of modern day life, like as we know it and so on. So you can't only wear the head of thinking, hey, I must make money and so on, but it's I must make money how, like and where. So it gives us time to craft that and make sure that the existential threat, I mean, competition is on our doorstep. I mean, the shareholder has made it blatantly clear that they will introduce that competition. So we have to respond, like the company is 100 years old now, like so our forebearers, like have laid a solid foundation for us. Now it's up to us to make sure that it transcends now to another 100 years in those small steps and so on. Key is that now we can focus on the employee value propositions, which I think we have not been able to execute some of it because of what has been, like happening, the financial difficulties, the inability to meet customer demand. Now we're focusing on that thing. I think, like the the optimism, in the business is growing. You're seeing bright eyes now, bushy tails. People are willing to go an extra mile. So, leading teams like that, that believe in themselves, believe in the cause, it makes it easier, to basically start, pushing the envelope and making challenges more, making it stricter, because everyone is aware that going back is not an option, and going back is basically an existential threat. For Eskom. Eskom is a big companies, but big companies, do fall, and they've happened in the 21st century. That we don't recall some of them. So it is possible, but it's up to leadership to make sure that that does not happen, and we use our people, to do that. I think it's a privilege now to be in this situation. Yeah.
Yeah, and enjoy it. And that's Dan Mashigo, General Manager, Primary Energy at Eskom. And it's a privilege to be with you. Again, congratulations on the award. And we look forward to learning more from you.
Thanks, Adrian. Really appreciate the opportunity. I must wish you well in this journey, because these are things that probably we will not learn from MBA. And I wish I can be a fly in the room when you collate all these things from the leaders that you're engaging and seeing that, because that will probably be better than most MBA books. Yeah. But all the best. And thanks once again, for seeing me worthy, to be bestowed the award. Really appreciate it. Yeah.